Proposal to spend 25% of European Union budget on climate change.
Here's a summary of the article.
8 European countries have called for an ambitious strategy to tackle climate change, and to spend a quarter of the entire EU budget on fighting it. The position of the 8 countries is that climate change has profound implications for the future of humanity, and that its impacts are already apparent, citing the heat waves and scorching fires of last summer. The EU budget currently under negotiation will be an important tool in this respect. At least 25% of the spending should go to projects aimed at fighting against climate change, the paper said. It also added that, as a general principle, the EU budget should not fund anything which would add to climate emissions. The 8 want the EU to announce a policy of zero emissions by 2050 at the United Nations Climate Summit in September, and strengthening its existing targets under the Paris Climate Agreement at the same time. Such proposals need the support of the European Parliament, and ultimately the approval of the European Council, made up of the leaders of each member state. Several countries oppose strengthening current commitments, which have proven difficult to stick to just 2 years after the Paris Climate Agreement was signed.
This post received a score of 46,331, with an upvote ratio of 86%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Signed by France, Belgium, Denmark, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Portugal, Spain, and Sweden.
I'm surprised the Netherlands is on that list. We are way behind curve ATM.
And Belgium is even worse.
I guess they are starting to change.
They change, so the climate doesn't have to.
Can I assume this means that the EU organization itself has a budget, that's some tiny fraction of the EU's economic output, and that they're proposing 25% of that go to fight climate change? Not that the EU would require 25% of each country's national budget to go to climate change.
I think you're correct. The EU's budget for 2018 was about €170 billion, while the UK's was around £800 billion.
€42.5 billion is still 1 metric shit-ton of money.
Can confirm. Wait it.
€1 million in €500 notes is 2.2 kilograms. Source below. So €42.5 billion weighs 93,500 kilograms, or 94 metric tons. Roughly equivalent to 1 metric shit-ton.
The €500 bill won't be made anymore. Better use €200 bills.
That'll be 2.5 metric shit-tons then.
Well, almost. The €200 bill is marginally lighter.
Now that is fucking commitment.
So important countries support this proposal. But
Poland already gets a hefty investment from the EU. They just care about their monies, afraid EU will shift a part to climate change.
Doesn't a lot of Polish tourism involve their snowy areas and wildlife?
Polish economy isn't really based on tourism, so the government doesn't really care about it. It does care about coal though, so they will oppose most limits to CO2 emissions.
You'd think an ocean-locked northern nation with a large amount of ice and snow would be concerned about rising sea levels, and intense weather shifts. Looks at Canada. ...
Put that money into R&D and production of clean goods inside EU and ban import of products from countries that ignore standards. That 25% deficit can end up being surplus if it's done correctly.
Greater than ban import of products from countries that ignore standards. Where are you going to get your solar panels from? I'm pretty sure the EU doesn't have the materials available that can make them. Edit, thanks for all the great replies. I upvoted all of you.
Canada actually has a ton of minerals that are needed for solar panels. They could at least get the materials from more workable countries.
Same as Australia.
And being practically biggest per capita polluter.
Australia is not the highest polluter per capita. We're number 2 behind the United States. Source. And #X2OOB. Edit. Before this comment I didn't realize AUS was so high up on the list. Not number 1, but it's still not a great place to be.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.